Hello from the Canon Academy Homeschool, and I am back again to explain what I do with the Calvert Math textbook that I purchased off of eBay. Okay, so I really like these books. I'm so sorry that they're expensive to get even on eBay these days. The math pages, they're very colorful in on some of them, and others not so much. I like that there are pages in there that explain how to do the problems, and they seem to explain it much better than some workbooks. I don't like that I don't have answers in the back of the book, but that's because when Calvert School out of Maryland was doing these, and you could buy them for homeschool curriculum, they had an answer book for you that you could purchase along with this book. And so they didn't see the need to put the answers in the back. So what that means is I have to work the math with the kiddos so that I have the answers to check them. And I will admit that if I'm working it really quick while they're working, I will make a mistake or two myself. But I will catch it and go back and fix it and everything. So, what some other things I like about this particular book, and okay, so you have your table of contents, which they have diagnostic tests that you can take, and I'll show you those in just a second. And then there's like 13, 14 chapters in a book, and I will figure out how long it will take us to do them, and I will make notes with their initials on who's going to work this chapter and who wasn't. Now the diagnostic tests go over everything that they should have learned the previous year. And this is what part of one of them looks like. Just to give you some idea. Okay. So, each chapter has anywhere from 7 to, I think there's one chapter that might even have as many as, 12 lessons. Then each chapter has a review that you do before you take a test. Now, this year and last year too, I just went over these with the kids, and we did it kind of like a discussion group. Now this coming year, I am going to copy these, and we will use them for study guides. So we will learn a concept, do the try these. There's always 4 or 5 problems labeled try these. Then we will do the exercises. Sometimes there's a mind builder or a mixed review at the bottom of a lesson page, and they'll do those. I do not do the constructed responses because there's a specific way they're supposed to write them out, and I don't answer to anybody, so I just mark those out. So then what we'll do is we will find that concept on the review page, and we will work that problem or fill in the blank and such. Now, in case you didn't notice it, because I did hold it up pretty fast, each section gives page numbers and directions and sections of the book to look for those concepts. So I can plan out when we need to answer things on the review. Sometimes the reviews are like just 2 pages, sometimes they might be 3. then the next day we can actually do the test. Sometimes the pages have only 24 problems on them, and sometimes they're 30 and take 2 pages. They have change of pace, things that they can learn if you want, and cumulative test. There's also cumulative reviews in some of the chapters. So you can count your cumulative test and cumulative reviews as quizzes, and then do the review, and then have test. Now, how this is set up is every 10 lessons there's a cumulative review, but on the 20th lesson you do the review page usually, and then you test and do both tests. And I remember this from when my daughter did the courses, and the first few years we actually ordered the whole curriculum, including the package where you sent so many lessons in and they were graded by a teacher, and you got your feedback along with kind of like a report card to see how your student was progressing. And so we had to do that every 20 days. We had to do the testing and then send it in. So there was a math test at 20 days, and then a test that covered reading, vocabulary, and grammar that went with that. Occasionally they would throw in a science or a history quiz too in that test. So I'm going to try to go with that kind of a plan this year, and use that review though as a study guide, so to speak. That will also teach my great-grandson, and should the other two come back this year, I mean, fingers crossed, I would like it, but you know, they kind of like public school now. But that will teach him how to study for high school courses and college courses, how to learn to plan things on their own, to know what things might be asked on a test, things like that. I have been teaching all of them since they were kindergarten level how to highlight things that stood out to them on their reading comprehension pages. And if nothing stood out to them, then when we went over the questions that would be asked and things like that, we would take either crayons or highlighters or something, and we would color the answer we found in the text and color that question number, and then they had to copy that answer. Sometimes if it was a really bad day and everybody was cranky, we would just color code the answer line as well. And so we would use a different color for each question and each answer and stuff. And so that kind of helps them learn to go back in a text and find the answers and know what was expected of them to write. And depending on their grade level, they might only answer with 1 to 3 words. And then as they became like 2nd and 3rd grade, they had to try to make a sentence at least. By 4th and 5th grade, I expect the capital letter at the beginning of the sentence and the punctuation. And if there are names mentioned, places, things like that, that are specific, I expect those to be capitalized. So that's where we are, and where we're planning on going with this next year. Now next year, besides this book, we will finish our Little House on the Prairie book, and that counts not only for reading and literature, but also towards history, because right now my great-grandson and even the 2 grandchildren, when they do come over, are fascinated with how it used to be with the covered wagons and cooking over the fire and things like that. So we'll probably finish that, and at some point I would like to also start on Dear America books, which I know there are some for Canada called Dear Canada, and I think I heard that there was one, I'm sorry, I moved. I think there's also one for the UK or something, maybe some other countries. So depending on where you are in the world, those might be possibilities. And they're kind of like historical fiction. They take things and people who existed, and they actually go over those events, but in such a way that it's the person in the story that's telling the story, so to speak. They're really good. And I had them like starting at Cleopatra up until the early 1900s. I need to check to see if there's anything further. So we'll do stuff like that. And science, I have a fifth grade textbook I bought online through eBay. I believe it's a McGraw-Hill book. Not really sure offhand. We also have several different art books we're working with as far as art, things like that. So what we'll do is, when my grandson arrives every morning, first thing we'll do is math while he's alert. Then we will go on to at least a work page on reading comprehension and one on language arts. We'll still stick with our STEM Mondays, where we do some sort of a science experiment or a project. We may have a game day or something like that, where we play one of the educational games that I have, which could be anything from checkers and chess to Scrabble to Yahtzee, adding the numbers up. Oh, there was another one I had that they really like, and I cannot remember it. Different things like that, and I have books all over the place. I just found 2 tubs of books while I was sorting through stuff to get rid of stuff and pack stuff up for our remodel and stuff that I didn't remember getting. So I must have bought them a couple years ago and put them in a tub. So that's one of the things we'll do over the summer. We'll go out outside on a nice day, and I'll pull one of those tubs out, and we'll throw a blanket on the ground, and we'll all just pour through these books and read them and look at the pictures and talk about the stories and things like that, which also helps them learn communication and conversation, and that it's okay to have a different opinion on something than somebody else, and you can still be friends at the end of the day. Things like that I think a lot of people, especially in our country right now, need to learn. So that is what our school year has been like this year, and what I hope it to be next year. I'm going to try to have my great-grandson, try to give him a little bit more input of what we study and things like that as well. He's getting to that age, more of a say in how long he spends with a certain subject and things like that, because he needs to learn to plan his time as well as he gets older. So we'll start getting into introducing those ideas in as well. So until next time, I'll see you. Have a great week from the Canon Academy Homeschool. Bye-bye.